Hello, this is Devin Roy, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about tip number 4 to my former self. You are your motives. And who might this video apply to? Well, if you've ever had an identity crisis, sometimes that happens when you read a lot of self-help stuff and you go to try it out and it doesn't work. You might be feeling like you're overwhelmed or overloaded. You might be in a new environment. Maybe this is, for me, I was in school. I was in college for the first time after being in private school with very small amount of kids, and now in college it's 4,000. So the range of people I was hanging out with was very different, and the dynamics of a classroom of 7 versus 150 are very different. Another thing you might be experiencing is a breakup, which can cause an identity crisis too, because a lot of our self and who we believe we are is positioned in being someone in a relationship, and you don't realize that until it's over sometimes, how much value you've put into that. My story: I went to college right after high school. Like I said, private high school, class of 7. Now we're talking class of almost 1,000. A big difference. And I wanted to fit in. I wanted to feel like I was going to make friends with everybody, because I did when there was only 7. So how different could it be with, 7 people in a dorm, 7 people here, 7 people there. It's not too difficult. I mean, I was in a pretty good variety of people, so I thought, but the dynamics are different, and I felt, instead of feeling cool and accepted, I felt out of place. I felt like an outcast, and I started to doubt myself heavily. It had a lot to do with who I thought I was at a social level, and I came to realize some very important things. There's certain things that you can't count on for your personality. You can't define yourself by your past, who you were before today. You can't define yourself by your record. That doesn't define you, because we change every day, and therefore our records will improve over time if we work on them, or get worse if we don't. We can't define ourselves by our actions. I know we're tempted to say, I'm an engineer because that's my occupation, but that doesn't actually define who you are to you, only maybe to how other people interpret you. You certainly can't define yourself, therefore, by your habits or your traits, though it may be tempting. Also, these are an accumulation of past efforts. You also can't define yourself by the present. I mean, emotions, thoughts, desires, even likes, because those can all change moment to moment. And lastly, you definitely can't define yourself by the impression you have upon other people. Certainly you can gauge how well you're doing in the company of others and get some feedback, but it doesn't define who you are. Instead, you need to focus on your motives. And I'm talking your goals, your big goals, your dreams, what you want to do with your life, your general purpose. Intentions, what you wanted to say, what you meant to say, is actually more important to who you are than what you said. Certainly, you can give the wrong impression, but that doesn't change who you are. Your intentions are what matters. Third, your values matter. What's important to you, why you do things. Not just what your goals are and what your intentions were, but really digging down to the why is super important. And lastly is motivations. See, we have desires and likes and interests, but they're all based on motivations, and that's really at the crux. That's at the core of who you are. And remember, it takes time to reinvent yourself. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. You can't one day wake up and be like, I have totally changed the way people look at me. It just doesn't happen that way. And I would stray away from that entirely, because your mom's always going to look at you the same way, and your best friend is always going to look at you at the same way. So to really reinvent yourself doesn't mean severing those connections. It's going to be a gradual process for people to realize that you are someone who is better than what they're imagining. A good tip I heard from a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is to write down a personal missions and values statement. It needs to be something that conveys purpose, and this is purpose that you choose, not purpose that somebody or the universe or God gives you. This is something you choose, that you think is personally important. Because if you do believe in God and the universe and something's on your heart, then you choose that. You want to pick something that's you're going to be proud of in the future. That's going to leave a legacy. Something that when you look back on it, be like, that was my mission statement, and it clearly shows. You also want to pick a statement that really digs into that you have a good basis in why. Remember, back to motivations. You want to get back to the why, and that's really your value statement, is why you do things. Write it down. And even if you feel inclined, write down how you're going to achieve your why. My personal mission statement is to further the world in spirituality and technology. That's what it is for me. It doesn't have to be as grandiose for you, but just if I can increment something just a little bit more in someone's life so that they're more connected to their spirit or more technologically advanced than when I left the world, then I've fulfilled my mission in some way. I've fulfilled my purpose. My last tip is to not try to fit in. If you try to fit in, you're going to have a big problem. It's just doesn't work that way. You have to find your in crowd. And perhaps in a small environment, you're going to learn how to fit in with each other. But in an environment that's based on social dynamics, you can't just fit in. You have to find your people. That's it. That's all I have for today. Please like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you later. Finger guns. No? How should I end it?
I don't know. Try a couple different ways.
All right. I'm out of control. I'm stuck. And until next time. Can I just do something corny?
A lot of YouTubers have a trademark at the end.
All right. Like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget that I'm out of control.
No. Like, comment, subscribe. See you later.
I already said that.
Yeah, we did that stupid clicking thing.
I like the clicking thing.
Alright, bye.
Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Or something.